Hi,
Hi,
how's it going?
it's going good. My neighbor has stopped using the tiller to tear up his entire lawn, and it is now covered in hay. I'm not really sure what he's doing.
Is it Halloweeny?
I don't know that you would tear up your entire front lawn.
No. Yeah, I remember when my family moved into the house in Delaware. The other family had just moved out, and they decided to resod the lawn. And so we moved. It was like dirt everywhere. My mom was so happy. We couldn't go out and play in the yard because there was grass seed in there.
Ugh,
Yeah, it was just not a way to welcome a 6-year-old.
what a nice part to get.
All righty. Shall we dive in?
Yes, let's.
Okay, let me grab my notes here. Okay. Well, welcome to Goodnight, Mr. Holmes, a podcast about the Granada Sherlock Holmes, which ran on ITV in the UK between 1984 and 1994 and ran on Masterpiece Mystery in the US around the same time. I'm Laura.
And I'm Rachel.
And today we are looking at episode 27 in the series called The Problem of Thor Bridge.
First published in the Strand in 1922.
Yeah, we're getting into the modern age.
Yeah, we have cars and everything.
Exactly.
They're adorable.
I love that car.
Yeah, it really does look like a horseless carriage.
Yes, yes. So the episode opens with this ominous music that's playing.
Okay, like we're meeting the bad guy.
Yes. It's like the opening. I was listening to Brahms's First Symphony today, and it starts in this sort of menacing way, like right off the bat, with no like, we're not going to ease you into this. We're gonna traumatize your brain.
Yeah, it's a lot like that, and it's this woman dressed in red,
Yes,
flowering behind this enormous flowering bush that comes up to her shoulders.
rhododendrons.
Yeah, no doubt it's growing so well because of all the dead bodies she's buried underneath. Is what the music is telling you.
Yes. So she plucks a flower and then she stalks off through the garden. It's a luscious garden. There are more.
It is. I did notice the cameraman is hiding behind the shrubbery, like he was told to film her. It's like, no, she'll kill me. So like he's filming her, but he's hiding while he's doing it.
That's funny. So she's walking down a path and she approaches a manor house. Through the window on the ground floor, she sees a governess tutoring a boy and a girl. The governess is teaching the kids about Brazil, your mama's homeland and your country too, she says. So the woman in the red dress with the rhododendron.
She also references a lost world in Brazil.
Oh,
The
yes.
Lost World, which takes place in South America, is a book by Arthur Conan Doyle that was first published in the Strand in 1912.
Oh my God, I did not catch any of that. That is so cool. That's awesome. So this woman is Maria Gibson, the Brazilian wife of J. Neil Gibson, and the governess is Grace Dunbar. Maria Gibson continues her walk outside the house. Inside the house, we see Mr. Gibson hard at work in his studies. He's got a lot of employees in there with them. They're dressed in pinstripe suits. They look like, old-timey stockbrokers.
Yeah.
Maria gazes in the window and Gibson turns around to see her. He gets up, he approaches the window.
He holds out the flower to her, like, I picked this poison flower for you.
Yes. Yes, she kisses it and then holds it out to him. And Gibson firmly yanks closed the curtain. And Maria crumples the flower, turns away, walks down the path away from the house, and she encounters a man on horseback who stops. Never allow yourself to love someone too deeply, Mr. Bates, she says. It will destroy you.
Okay, thanks.
Go ahead.
Oh, I just said, okay, thanks.
Yeah. I was struck by, there are so many prior to Downton Abbey where like somebody in the household is named Mr. Bates. I'm like, oh, it's another Mr. Bates. Okay. So Mr. Bates looks very confused as Maria walks out of the gate onto the grounds of the manor. A bit later, dressed in black tie, Gibson is walking along the exterior of the house. He lights a cigar and watches the governess leaving. And
It's a very nice yard, I have to say.
oh, it's gorgeous. Yeah. And I have a few notes on that a little bit later. As the governess crosses the bridge into the village where she supposedly lives, she's met by Maria, who is wearing a different red dress. And the governess, not to put too fine a point on it, is wearing all white.
Wearing white. Yeah, it's the good twin and the bad twin.
Yep. So you've come, Maria says. And then we cut to 221B, where Holmes is meditating. And Watson comes down from his room. He's looking kind of grouchy. You have a case, Holmes, he says.
Yeah, he's he comes in like, oh, you have to go to work today? You promised to take me to the beach.
I took it as, you have a case and you didn't tell me.
Yeah.
But either way, yes. The faculty of observation is certainly contagious, Holmes says. After a month of trivialities and stagnations, the wheels move once more. Might I share it? Watson says. And Holmes says, sure, but Watson tells Watson to have breakfast first. There are 2 hard-boiled eggs under adorable, cute little cozies.
Yeah. Emphasis on the hard.
Right,
hard.
yeah. Mrs. Hudson's away on holiday, and they have a temporary cook. Watson takes off one of the cozies and whacks at the egg with a spoon. And nothing happens. So, yeah, the egg's pretty much a fossil.
Yeah, and Watson says something like, I hope Mrs. Hudson is enjoying her holiday.
Yes.
At the beach, where we were supposed to go today.
Right. Holmes has deduced by the fact that a newspaper called the Family Herald has been in the hallway that the cook has been distracted by reading romances in that excellent periodical. So, yeah, Watson's grousing. He hopes Mrs. Hudson enjoys our holiday, and Holmes is giggling, and then he starts rifling through his desk. You've heard of Neil Gibson, the Gold King.
And by rifling, what
God.
Literally flinging paper into the air all over the floor.
Yeah.
Hudson is going to come back to this. Take one look at the mess and raise the rent again.
Exactly. Yes. You mean the American senator? He was the senator of some Western state. He's better known as the greatest gold magnate in the world, Holmes says. And again, more tossing papers. It's just confetti up in here. Mm-hmm. Yes, I know him. He stayed in England for some time. He bought a considerable estate in Hampshire some 5 years ago. You may have heard of the tragic death of his wife. Watson's been struggling to light his pipe while Holmes is tossing paper everywhere. That's why the name is familiar. I know nothing of the details. So, yes, now we get to hear them. The fact is that the case appears to present no difficulty. The interesting personality of the accused, Miss Grace Dunbar, does not obscure the clarity of the evidence. That is, if the view by the coroner's jury and also in the police proceedings. And he's, again, flinging paper. It's an endless scene of this.
Actually, the least interesting personality in the story, but...
Yes, I know. It is a thankless business, Watson. I can discover facts, but I cannot change them. Unless something new and entirely unexpected ones come to light, I do not see what my client can hope for. Your client, Watson says. I've fallen into your involved habit of telling a story back, Holmes says, starting from the middle. He pulls a paper out of his jacket pocket. I don't believe this, he says. You must read this first. So Watson takes the paper, unfolds it, and begins to read. Dear Mr. Sherlock Holmes, comes Gibson's voice. I cannot see the best woman God ever made go to her death without doing all that is possible to save her. I can't explain things, but I know beyond all doubt that Miss Dunbar is innocent. And we see Gibson in a gray suit and a red tie coming to the doorway of the schoolroom where Miss Dunbar is teaching lessons. And an interesting thing about Gibson, he's played by Daniel Massey, who was Canadian, but posh. He was Noel Coward's godson.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And he went to Eton in Cambridge.
Wow.
So, yeah, he could, if he chose, do a British accent, I'm sure. So Massey had a ton of acting roles, and he was nominated for an Oscar for playing Noel Coward in a movie called Star about Gertrude Lawrence, and Gertrude was played by Julie Andrews. And Massey won a Golden Globe for that.
Wow.
Yeah. And then evaporated.
Until he put up here.
Yes, exactly. You know the facts, he continues in his letter. It has been the gossip of the country and never a voice raised for her. It's damned injustice of it all that makes me crazy. That woman has a heart that wouldn't let her kill a fly. Maybe I have a clue and don't know it, he says. In the scene, he's gesturing for his children to turn around and pay attention to Miss Dunbar. Anyway, all I know and all I have and all I am are for your use, if only you can save her. Okay, he's not in love. So Holmes then whacks a bunch of newspaper clippings down in front of Watson. You'll hardly have time to master all these cuttings, he tells Watson, so I must give it to you in a nutshell if you're going to take an intelligent interest in the proceedings. Mr. Gibson, as I understand, is a man who married a Brazilian wife, of whom I know nothing save that she was past her prime. Which, ew.
Yeah, I just wrote, go fuck yourself.
Which was all the more unfortunate as a very attractive governess superintended the education of the two children. And I can't with this scene. As to the tragedy, Holmes continues, it takes place across a bridge over a lake half a mile from the house. The wife was found late at night by a gamekeeper on the bridge.
It looks like she was found by a torch-wielding mob.
Yes, we're treated to this scene of Gibson leading a bunch of men who I noticed of varying classes, right? So he's got some of his stockbrokers, but also like workers on his estate, and they're all carrying torches. She was clad in her dinner dress, and a revolver bullet through her brain, and we see her lying dead on the bridge, a definite hole in her head. No weapon was found near her, and there was no local clue as to the murder, Watson reads from one of the clippings.
The list of suspects are everyone she has ever met.
No weapon near her. Mark that, Watson, Holmes says. Is this too condensed, or can you follow it clearly?
There was a case in Missouri many years ago where the town bully was shot and killed in the town main street in the middle of the day. And by an amazing coincidence, nobody who was out on the main street saw anything.
I remember. There's a Wikipedia page on that.
Yeah.
Definitely one of those, like, he had it coming.
Yeah, exactly.
As I recall, he was abusive to his wife as well as everyone else in the town.
Yep.
Yeah. No, it's all very clear, Watson says, but why suspect the governess? In the first place, there was some very direct evidence, Holmes says. The dead woman had a note upon her, making an appointment at the bridge, signed by the governess.
And I have a note. She probably wrote the note herself.
Yeah, well, it turns out she didn't. Mr. Gibson sent his farm manager for the police and stayed with the body, Watson continues reading. And in the scene, we see the farm manager is Mr. Bates, insisting that nothing should be removed until the police arrived just after 11. So the timeline is the two women met a little after 9 after dinner. And I forgot that there are some parts of the year in England where it's not dark, because this was broad daylight.
Yeah.
And then when the gang of torchbearers finds the body, it's dark. Then Holmes says there is the evidence of the revolver with one discharged chamber and the caliber which corresponded with the bullet. And we see a policeman retrieving a gun from the drawer of Miss Dunbar's wardrobe, and Miss Dunbar faints. In the drawer of her wardrobe, Holmes mutters. Damning evidence, Watson says. So the jurors thought. It is now referred to the assizes in Winchester. So the assizes were courts that were held periodically throughout England until the 1970s, when they were replaced by the Crown Court. And the assizes handled serious crimes, mostly criminal. The Winchester assizes met during Lent, so we're meant to understand this is the springtime, which from all the rhododendrons seems right to me. The rhododendrons, they start blooming early in the spring. And the motive, Watson says, Mr. Gibson is a very attractive man, Holmes says.
No, he isn't.
He's fine. Big mustache, obviously very wealthy, well-dressed, trim figure, but otherwise he's just fine. Massey also played Trotsky, and he's got the mustache.
Yeah, he does.
If his wife dies, who more likely to succeed her than the young lady who had already, by all accounts, received pressing attentions from her employer? Love, fortune, power, all depending on one middle-aged man. Ugly, Watson, very ugly. We see the police hauling Miss Dunbar out of a paddy wagon amid an angry crowd, hustling her into Winchester Prison. So I looked up Winchester Prison. These days, it's solely for male inmates. The one exception being Rosemary West.
Oh.
Yeah, with her husband Fred, was a notorious serial killer. Most recently, a notable inmate has been Tommy Robinson, aka Stephen Yaxley, who's a horrible far-right activist who incites all kinds of violence in the UK.
Right.
And that was very recently. Nor could she prove an alibi, Holmes says. On the contrary, there was proof that she was down to the bridge by 9 o'clock. A servant had seen her hurrying there. Well, it really does seem final, Watson says. And yet, Watson, and yet.
And yet what?
He stares off, thinking, but he's interrupted by a knock at the door. A boy comes in. I was like, he's well dressed, this boy.
Yeah.
He's like a little messenger boy. I didn't think he was an irregular, but he's credited as Billy.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I assumed he was an irregular.
Billy Wiggins has cleaned himself up with the money Holmes has paid him overtime. Unless I am mistaken, it is our client considerably before his time, Holmes says, not turning around. Gentleman to see you, sir, Billy says. Mr. Neil Gibson, Holmes asks. No, sir, not him. His name is Bates, and he looks a bit aggravated. And Mr. Bates comes into the room, and yes, he does look aggravated. I have only a short time, Mr. Bates, Holmes says. I know, Mr. Gibson is coming. I am the manager of his estate. Mr. Holmes, he's a villain, an infernal villain. Strong words, Mr. Bates, Holmes says. Well, I have to be emphatic, Mr. Holmes. The time's so limited. I'd not have him find me here for the world. And yet you're his manager, Holmes points out. Oh, I've given him notice. In a couple of weeks, I shall have shaken off his cursed slavery. He's a hard man, Mr. Holmes, hard to all about him, but his wife was the chief victim. He was brutal to her. Oh, yes, sir, brutal. Now, how she come about her death, I do not know, but let me tell you, he made her life a misery. She was a creature of the tropics, a Brazilian by birth, as you no doubt know. And Holmes urges Mr. Bates to continue. Bates is really worked up. Like his face is just furrowed with anguish. Tropical by birth, tropical by nature. She was a child of the sun and of passion. And here we have the racism.
This is a very strange remake of Jane Eyre.
I did start thinking of Wide Sargasso Sea.
Yeah.
She loved him as only such women can love. We all felt for her, hated him the way that he treated her. But he's plausible and cunning, and that's all I have to tell you. Don't take him at face value. There is more behind. And Bates dashes to the door. Please don't detain me. He's almost due. And boom, he's gone. And the clock strikes 11 just as he leaves. Well, Holmes says. Mr. Gibson has a nice, loyal household, Watson remarks. And Holmes, he throws out an arm, gesturing at Watson without looking at him. The warning is a useful one, Holmes says, shaking his finger. As the clock continues to strike, there's a horn from outside. Watson goes to the window and looks out, and I spotted a continuity error.
Yeah?
Yeah, because I'm very attuned to styles of windows because my apartment are so shitty. So the window's a modern one. It's got metal frame. It looks like it could have been made in the 90s. It's not like your wooden sash type, which is what I have, which is why my electric bill's so high in the winter.
Yeah.
Along 221B comes an automobile, and
Adorable. It's so cute.
So gorgeous. Leather seats with a chauffeur up front. And it's a convertible, no less. Shiny.
It really does look like a horseless carriage.
It's a shiny polished wood, I noticed. And it's clearly, back then, the latest of the latest. I couldn't tell the make or the model, but it's clearly a rich man's car.
Yeah.
And as it pulls up to 221B, a crowd of children swarm around it and try to get into it.
Can you blame them?
No, I would too. So Billy Wiggins answers the door and gestures for Gibson to go upstairs. And then he runs ahead of Gibson so he can open the door to 221B and take his gloves, which he slams into Billy's hands. This is my friend and colleague, Dr. Watson, Holmes says to Gibson. Gibson shakes Watson's hand, tosses his hat to the table, and approaches Holmes. Now, let me tell you right here, Mr. Holmes, money is nothing to me in this business, he says. And, you know, typical rich American throwing his weight around from the get-go, according to the British stereotype.
Mm-hmm.
You can burn it if it's any use enlightening you to the truth. That woman is innocent. This woman has to be cleared. It's up to you to do it. Name your figure. My professional charges are at a fixed rate, Holmes says. I do not vary them, save when I remit them altogether. And Gibson looks at him suspiciously. Well, if money makes no difference to you, think of your reputation. If you pull this off, every newspaper in England and America will be booming. You will be the talk of 2 continents. Gibson's face is positively avaricious at this point. And we can see what really matters to him, money and fame.
Although Holmes is already famous.
Right. So. International reputation. Holmes laughs. I do not think I'm in need of booming, Mr. Gibson. Please let us get down to the facts. And he sits in his chair and points to the wicker sofa, but Gibson does not sit down. He's one of these people who comes into your house and dominates you from the, you know, like he owns the place. You'll find most of what you need in the press reports. I don't think I can add much to them, but if there's anything you wish more light on, well, I'm here to give it. Well, there is just one point, Holmes says. What is it? Holmes stares at him. What are your exact relations with Miss Dunbar? And Gibson stares back at him for a minute. I suppose you are within your rights, he says. Maybe doing your duty in asking such a question, Mr. Holmes. And Holmes nods, and he smiles without meaning it. We will agree to suppose so. He just laughs so hard at this. Then I can assure you that our relations were always and entirely those of an employer that wards a young lady whom he never conversed with or even saw, save when she was in the company of his children.
Doesn't the governess eat meals with the family?
Yes, and it's a lie because we see her alone with him later.
Yeah.
Gibson lights a cigar and finally sits down, tossing the match somewhere, vaguely towards the fireplace, but not really caring where it landed.
Mm.
I'm a rather busy man, Mr. Gibson. I don't have time or taste for aimless conversations. Holmes gets up from his chair, turns his back to Gibson, and sits down at his desk. I wish you good morning. And
you.
Yes, Gibson is predictably outraged. What the devil do you mean by this, Mr. Holmes? He says, getting to his feet. Do you dismiss my case? No, Mr. Gibson, as you said, I dismiss you. The case is quite sufficiently complicated without the added difficulty of false information. Meaning that I lied? And Gibson lunges at him.
How dare you accuse me of doing what I actually did?
Yes, I tried to express it as delicately as I could, but if you insist upon the word, I will not contradict you. That's some Jesus Christ in front of Pontius Pilate shit. Gibson moves as if to strike him, and Watson stands up. Gibson pulls back his hand. I find after breakfast any argument most unsettling, Holmes says. I suggest a little stroll in the open air and some quiet thought will be greatly to your advantage. Gibson snatches his hat and he leaves, but at the door, he turns around. I've broken stronger men than you, Mr. Holmes. Nobody crosses me and gets the better of it. So many have said so, but here I am, Holmes says. Well, Watson, he has a great deal to learn. And Watson closes the door and turns around. How on earth did you know about his relationship with the governess? Holmes hoists himself up in his chair, crossing his legs underneath him. He's sitting on a sizable mountain of papers. Bluff, Watson, bluff. I considered the passionate and unbusinesslike tone of his letter contrasted with his manner and appearance. It was pretty clear there was some deep emotion centered upon the accused woman rather than the victim. I bluffed him by giving him the impression that I was absolutely sure of it, when in reality you were only suspicious. Do you think he'll come back? Watson asks. He is sure to come back. Holmes closes his eyes. He's sinking back into meditation. He must come back.
Use my Jedi mind powers to make
Yes. At 4 o'clock, Holmes is still thinking. The state of 221B hasn't gotten any better. Papers are still everywhere. And yeah,
I clean up.
I have the note that Mrs. Hudson's going to be really pissed. Holmes raps on the window. Billy Wiggins turns around and is shaking his head, so there's no sign of Gibson. Watson comes into the sitting room. No, no, Watson, I fear you will not improve any reputation I have acquired by adding the Thor Bridge mystery to your annals. I fear I have made a serious misjudgment. The senator may not have returned, Watson says, but surely his letter has engaged you on behalf of Miss Dunbar. She's the one in need. Might we not pay her a visit?
Can't we solve this anyway?
There are so many moments like this. In the cells of Winchester, that would require the official permits. Watson holds up Gibson's letter. Well, we have the means to apply. Of course, it may not be quite ethical. And Holmes smiles at this. But practical, Watson, practical. I congratulate you. And they shake hands. So the next shot is of this museum in Winchester. There's a lot of bustling going on. There's a field trip. A school teacher with a group of girls in uniforms and hats. They look like they've come out of the pages of the Madeline stories.
Yeah, they all look like Madeline. And
Yes, they do, and they have little capes and everything. Yeah. There's a fruit stall, a game bird stall. Watson passes by all of them and goes up the stairs, and he meets Holmes at the top. Holmes has been visiting the museum. You've solved our problem, Holmes asks. Some official little pipsqueak of a clerk queried both the letter and the Home Office permit. He demanded personal authorization from Gibson himself, Watson reports.
How dare the clerk question our illegal application for a permit?
But you sorted it out. Only by the good fortune of meeting her lawyer, Mr. Cummings, he secured a brief audience with her. Mr. Joyce Cummings, a man with a rising reputation, that is certainly in her favor, Holmes says. And they go into the assizes. And as they go, Gibson's car pulls up. Gibson and another man get out, and they go into the assizes as well. And so the prison is in the cellar of the courthouse. It really is providence to see you here, Mr. Holmes, Joyce Cummings is saying as he and Watson and Holmes go down to the cells. Her trial is in 2 days, and I really am at my wit's end to find any evidence to save her. She will admit to writing the note and keeping the rendezvous with Miss Gibson. She has little choice, but beyond that, I've advised her to reserve her defense, Cummings says. Quite so.
To the cops.
Yes. So they enter Miss Dunbar's cell, where she's sitting on a stone bench, wearing her governess clothes. She looks like a Gibson girl.
Yeah, she does.
Cummings introduces Holmes and Watson. Your employer, Mr. Gibson, has engaged me to look into this unhappy matter, Holmes says. Oh, I'm very grateful to Mr. Gibson. It is incredible that the whole charge against me has been sustained. I thought the whole thing would clear itself up in the police court. My dear young lady, I beg you to have no illusions. Mr. Cummings here will assure you that all the cards at present are against you. Cheery. Holmes sits down on one side of her and Watson on the other. Mr. Gibson is convinced of your innocence, Watson says, but it would be a cruel deception to pretend you are not in very grave danger. And he's got that kindly uncle look on his face again that he gets when he's talking to beautiful young women. I will conceal nothing, she says. What were the true relations between you and Mr. Gibson's wife? Holmes asks. Before she can answer, Gibson is barreling in, yelling, Permit? What permit? And he approaches the group. He's growling, How dare you take this liberty, Mr. Holmes? Mr. Gibson, Cummings begins, but Gibson cuts him off, pointing at him. And you, Cummings, I did not engage you, sir, to conspire against me. He turns to the guard who has followed him in. These men are here under false pretenses. I did not authorize their visit. They are deceivers. I demand the removal at once. And at this point, I was like, why was his authorization necessary?
I don't know.
I get that he's ostensibly the injured party. I mean, if you consider women property and his property was shot. But why does he have any say over who can and can't visit the alleged killer?
I have no idea.
Yeah, I just don't think that's a thing, no matter how rich and powerful you are. But it's fiction. Okay, let's wave our hands and move on. Miss Dunbar starts to speak, but Holmes hushes her. You have made a disturbance worthy of Bedlam, Holmes says, referring, of course, to the psychiatric hospital in London. whose real name was Bethlehem Royal Hospital. I'll have you crushed for this, Holmes, Gibson says. Well, it will profit you nothing, Holmes retorts. Mr. Holmes, the guard warns him. Holmes stands up and says his goodbyes. As he leaves, Watson leans over and whispers to Miss Dunbar, you must put your faith in Sherlock Holmes. And this is definitely not the first time he's whispered that. Gibson turns around, he glares at this. Watson follows Holmes out into the hallway where Holmes encounters the man that came in with Gibson. The man introduces himself as Ferguson. There is an excellent exhibition at the museum across the street, Holmes says, reaching into his pocket. I recommend it to you. And he pulls out a flyer from the exhibit and he gives it to Ferguson.
I love the museums. I don't often have time to go to them. Thanks for the recommendation.
The museum closes at 5. And Ferguson stares after Holmes. Later that day, Holmes and Watson are at the museum. It's an exhibition of Huguenot glass art. And Holmes is extremely interested while Watson could not be more bored. These Huguenots, are they any relation of yours? Watson asks. Because, of course, Holmes's grandmother was French. Mm-hmm. Possibly, Holmes says. He keeps looking at the exhibit and notes that one of the companies in the exhibition has been manufacturing banknotes for 100 years. Well, it's good to know there's money somewhere in your family, Watson cracks. Not their money. They just print the money. Just then, Ferguson comes into the museum. Holmes greets him. Mr. Neil Gibson wishes to see you at Thor Place at 11 o'clock tomorrow morning, Ferguson says. This evening would be more convenient, Holmes says. The morning, Ferguson says. 11 o'clock, Mr. Holmes. And he starts to leave, but Holmes calls out, will a motor be sent for us? Nice try. Ferguson turns back around. There's a train which will take you to Thor Village. Mr. Gibson is a very busy man. He expects punctuality.
Oh, I wanted to ride in that cool car.
Exactly. I mean, Sherlock does love technology. How did you know that he was going to turn? Watson starts, but Holmes cuts him off. I gambled that we made enough of an impression upon Miss Dunbar to turn us back into favor. We are, after all, her only hope. Now we must find a comfortable inn for the night so we can arrive punctually at Thor Place at 9 in the morning. I thought he said 11, Watson protests. 9, Watson, to meet Sergeant Coventry of the police. So the next morning, they are cycling alongside the sergeant, who is saying, in all events, Mr. Holmes, I'd rather have you than Scotland Yard. If the Yard gets called into a case, the local loses all credit for success and gets every blame for failure.
And nobody's breathing hard.
It's a leisurely ride.
Yeah, but I'd be like, wait, I have to do cardio for this? I'll just stay home. I'm sure everything will work out.
Oh, so you're Mycroft.
Yeah, Mycroft.
Holmes basically tells him he doesn't need to be credited with the case, which the sergeant appreciates. And your friend, Dr. Watson, can be trusted, I know, the sergeant says, which, no. Watson,
I'm sure he won't publish a story about this.
Right, in the Strand. Now, there is one question I'd like to ask you, but I'd breathe it to no soul but you, the sergeant continues, as they bicycle up to the bridge. Don't you think there might be a case against Mr. Neil Gibson himself? According to his servants, he retired to his study after dinner and had no company at all until the alarm at 11. And the 3 of them get off their bikes in the middle of the bridge.
Can we just blame Gibson, please?
Yeah, no, the sergeant's a bright boy. Yes, I've been considering Mr. Gibson, Holmes says. These Americans are far readier with their pistols than our folk are.
Yeah, these Americans and their pistols. Do you know there's a mass shooting pretty much every day in their country? But they're children to do mass shooter drills. Like we had to go outside for bomb threats, except there were never any actual bombs, but there are shooters. Crazy.
Yeah, and oh my God. We could, It was his pistol, one of a pair he had. One of a pair, Holmes asks. Where's the other? Well, these gentlemen have all kinds of firearms of one sort or another, the sergeant says. We never matched that particular pistol. The box was made for 2. Now, this is where the body lay, but Holmes has climbed up onto the stone railing of the bridge. He's not even looking. I gather from the press reports that the shot was fired at close quarters, Holmes says, looking out over the lake. Very close, the sergeant says. Behind the right temple? The sergeant agrees. How did the body lie? Holmes asks, finally looking where the sergeant has been gesturing. On the back, sir. No trace of a struggle, no mark, no weapons. The short note from Miss Dunbar was clutched in her left hand. Holmes leans back towards the lake. Clutched? Yes, sir. We could hardly open her fingers. I mean,
Oh, it just means rigor mortis is probably set in.
I'm like, at this point, I'm like, you had time with Miss Dunbar. Did you not think to ask what the meeting was about? Why she wanted to see Mrs. Gibson? No,
No.
no, we would rather turn ourselves into pretzels than talk to a woman.
Uh-huh.
That is of the greatest importance. It excludes the idea that anybody could have placed it there after death to furnish a false clue. Holmes is pacing along the railing of the bridge.
No, it doesn't.
Sorry, what? Oh, no, I know. No. Now, the note, as I remember, was quite short. Yes, Watson says, be at Thor Bridge, 9 o'clock. G. Dunbar. Wasn't that it? The sergeant confirms. Holmes hops off the railing. The point of the note is
On the bridge side, not the lake side.
on the bridge side. Yes, not into the lake. There are plenty of times we want to tell Holmes to go jump in the lake. This is not going to happen. The point of the note is obscured, is it not? Holmes says. Well, sir, it may seem bold to say so, but it is really the only clear point in the whole case, Sergeant says. Assuming the note is genuine, Holmes says, she certainly received it some time before, an hour or two. Why then was she clasping it in her left hand? She had no need to refer to it in the interview. Holmes lies down on the bridge. Does that not seem remarkable? Well, sir, as you put it, perhaps it does, the sergeant says. And Holmes kind of sits up a little bit, looking around with his hands shielding his eyes from the sun. That is curious, he says, pointing. Oh, yes, we noticed that, the sergeant says, and Watson crouches down where Holmes is pointing. There's a little chip in the railing of the bridge. I expect it's been done by some passerby, the sergeant says. It took some violence to do that, Watson says. A hard knock, Holmes says. But not from above, from below. You see, it's on the lower edge of the parapet, Watson. Yes, and in a direct line with the position of the body. So Holmes, go ahead.
It was it was the railing by her feet, wasn't it? Or did I
don't remember.
get that wrong?
I am not sure. But Holmes sits all the way up. It's probably of no matter, he says. No footprints, eh? The ground was iron hard, sir, the sergeant says. No marks at all. Then we have nothing more to learn here, Holmes says. At Thor Place, Holmes and Watson are waiting in the front hall as Ferguson comes out. He does a double take at their presence. You are early, Mr. Holmes. It is often the case with punctuality, Mr. Ferguson. Holmes says. Mr. Gibson is in a meeting. He is not ready to see you. And just then, conveniently, Bates comes in. I'll take care of them, Ferguson, he says. Ferguson just looks at him and walks away.
I'll give him the...
Yeah. Holmes and Watson approach Bates. I'm very glad to see you, gentlemen, Bates says. As we are a little early, perhaps we could see the gun room, Holmes says. He and Watson follow Bates up the stairs. Ferguson sticks his head out of Gibson's office door and watches them. I was surprised at this. Usually gun rooms are located on the ground floor of a British manor.
Oh.
Yeah, because they got to, the guns have to, if you're part of a hunt, the guns have to be prepared, assigned, and then there's usually dogs that are also on the ground floor.
Yeah, and all work for servants, right?
Right.
Yes. Yeah, so that would be more likely on the ground floor.
But up they go. Ferguson goes back into Gibson's office where a number of clerks are talking on the phone, writing things down. Gibson himself is at a stock ticker. In the gun room, Holmes is looking over the rifles and the pistols. A man who has his enemies, he comments. And the room is filled with tusks, taxidermied heads of various animals, zebra skins. The guy really likes his blood sports.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, if you knew him and his methods, Bates says. He sleeps with a loaded revolver in a drawer by his bed. He is a man of violence, sir. Have you ever seen him strike his wife? Holmes asks. Yes, more than once, Bates says. Our gold king does not seem to shine in private life, Holmes says. Watson comes over to Holmes and Bates holding a box. He opens it. It's empty. There are just two pistol-shaped holes in the velvet inside. That's the box that contained the murder weapon. It was one of a pair, Bates says. The other is missing. Mr. Ferguson is sure to know that you're consorting with us, Holmes says. I mean, the guy was watching him go up the stairs. That hold no alarm for you? There's nothing he can do to hurt me now, Bates says.
I already gave my notice.
I'm a lame duck. Perhaps you'll be so kind as to show us the schoolroom, Holmes asks. And as they're walking through a hallway, Holmes is asking, where are the children? Sent away on a visit to America, Bates says. He opens the schoolroom door. Because that's what you want to do when your kid's mom dies. You want to send them away.
Yeah.
God. Holmes says something in Latin, and I could not tell what he was saying.
Yeah, I couldn't either, and closed captioning didn't even try.
No. On a shelf and hanging on the wall are a lot of indigenous artifacts and photographs. Their Brazilian heritage from their mother's side, Holmes says. Miss Dunbar would seem to be a remarkable teacher. Holmes approaches the shelf and he grabs a photo. The children doted on her, Bates says. See, Watson, the Ricardo Franco Hills. See these remarkable cliffs which time and the foot of men have never touched, where the monsters from the dawn of history might still roam.
That's a reference again to the Lost World.
Yes.
Dinosaurs lived there, apparently. Brazil. The Ricardo Franco Hills are on the border with Bolivia, and the area is currently not in great shape.
No, it's a state park, but due to poaching and illegal deforestation and squatting, the foot of men have definitely touched it, and there are no monsters from the dawn of history. Watson points to a photograph on the wall. That's Martin's, the Indian hunter. I know about him. His victims, women and children. Pitiful.
I couldn't find anything on this, so I don't know if Doyle made this up.
Yeah. But I mean, it would be of a piece with the exploitation that was going on at the time, which Gibson was a part of.
Yep.
Holmes sits down at Miss Dunbar's desk. Would you say that Maria Gibson was jealous of Miss Dunbar and her influence over the children? There was no love lost between them, Bates says, but that was because she could see her husband was under the lady's spell too. Get out of here, Bates! It's Gibson standing just outside. Bates walks out and Gibson comes into the schoolroom, closing the door behind him. Mr. Bates's views are not relevant, Mr. Holmes, Gibson says. They're distorted by his infatuation for my late wife. Who knows, Mr. Gibson, what is and what is not relevant, Holmes says. You're like a surgeon who wants every symptom before he can give a diagnosis, Gibson says.
Just give me a few of the symptoms and I'll take a guess and we'll see if you live or die.
Yeah. It is only a patient who has reason in deceiving his surgeon who conceals the facts, Holmes responds. I can assure you that the relations between Miss Dunbar and myself do not touch this case, Gibson says. Surely that is for me to decide, Holmes says. Most men have a little private corner of their souls where they don't welcome intruders, Gibson says. You burst suddenly into mine. What is it that you want?
I mean, technically, he invited Holmes to burst. What do you mean, burst in?
A letter. And Holmes slams an elbow down on the desk and raises a finger. The truth, he says. Gibson walks to the window, looks out. He says, I met my wife when I was gold hunting in Brazil. She was the daughter of a government official in Manaus. Even now, when I look back with a colder eye, she had a rich, passionate nature, tropical, ill-balanced, very different from the American women I had known.
It was like the first Mrs. Rochester, kept trying to lock her in an attic, but it just somehow never worked.
Exactly. Yes. We see this younger Maria Gibson in a ruffled white peasant blouse and a red skirt. God, she's always wearing red. Walking along a dirt path surrounded by purple flowers, which, as it happens, is on the estate. She's not in South America. It was only when the romance had passed that I realized we had nothing, absolutely nothing in common. My love faded, but you know the wonderful way of women. Do what I might, nothing could turn her from me. If I had been harsh to her, even brutal, it was because I knew that if I could kill her love or have it turn to hate, it would be easier for us both. Says you.
Could just divorce her.
But nothing changed her. She still adored me in these English woods as she had adored me 20 years before on the banks of the Amazon. Poor, poor man, suffering from the love of a good woman. Now, Gibson, along with Watson and Holmes, are out on the grounds of Thor Place. Then came Miss Dunbar, Holmes says. She is also a very beautiful woman, Gibson says, and I'll admit to you that I could not live under the same roof in daily contact with her without feeling a passionate regard for her. Don't blame me, Mr. Holmes. I don't blame you for revealing it. I should blame you for expressing it since she was under your protection, Holmes says. Well, maybe so. I'm not pretending to be any better than I am. I guess all my life I've been a man who reached out his hand for what he wanted, and I never wanted anything more than the love and possession of that woman. I told her so. Possession. Just, yeah, reach out my hand for what I wanted. I mean, yoink.
Also, she was really pretty, so I fell passionately in love with her. As you can see, I really learned my lesson after I met.
Right. I'm like, who's to say the whole thing's not going to happen again? So he says, I told her so. You did, Holmes says. I said if I could, I'd marry her, but it was out of my power. Money was no object. I'd do all I could to make her happy, comfortable. Very generous of you, Holmes wisecracks. No, see here, Mr. Holmes, I came to you on a question of evidence, not morals. I'm not asking for criticism, Gibson says.
I think what he's implying is that he invited her to be his mistress.
Exactly. Yes. Yes. And, you know, you don't have to ask for criticism. Criticism free. You're a douchebag. You wanted her to be your kept woman. It is only for the lady's sake that I take on this case at all, Holmes says. Nothing that she's been accused of is worse than what you yourself have admitted, that you tried to ruin a defenseless girl who was under your roof. You know, some of you rich men must be taught that all the world cannot be bribed into condoning your offenses.
Yeah, but he's American. And if there's one thing Americans have learned, it's that wealthy men can, in fact, do whatever they want without consequences.
Yeah, but they all have this weird need to be liked as well.
Yeah,
well, the wrecking civilization on the planet, but they really want to be approved of, which pisses me off.
Yeah.
If you're going to be a billionaire and an evil billionaire, then act like it and don't
there's not really any such thing as a non-evil billionaire.
No. A possible exception, and I think we've said this before, is Mackenzie Bezos.
Yeah.
But even so, she was with him for a long time while a lot of exploitation was going on.
Yeah, and she's also, even as much money as she gives away, she's still got more money than she could possibly spend in a lifetime.
Well, that's it. Every time she gives money away, the stock market goes up and she gets more money. I mean, she's richer now than she was when she first started giving money away.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's how I feel myself about it, Gibson says. Now I thank God my plans did not work out. They've arrived at an archery range where servants are waiting for them. Gibson has taken off his jacket and he picks up a bow. She'd have none of it. She wanted to leave the house instantly. But why did she not? Watson asks. Others were dependent on her, and it was no light matter for her to let them down, Gibson says. When I had sworn that she'd never be molested again, she consented to stay.
Would never be molested again? What did you do to her?
He touched her boob. But there was another reason. She knew the influence that she had over me, that it was stronger than any other influence in the world. She wanted to use it for good. Gibson shoots an arrow into a target. And in a flashback, we see Miss Dunbar coming to Gibson as he sits at his desk. You're cruel. You destroy good people who can't stand up to you. Not everyone shares your strength. Can't you see that? You could call it a fair fight, but it isn't fair.
You are clearly a Republican, sir.
In the American sense. She saw it different, Gibson recounts to Holmes and Watson. She believed that a fortune for one man that was more than he needed should not be built on 10,000 ruined men who are left without the means of life. Oh, gee.
How un-American of her.
I know. With your children, you show such tenderness and love, Miss Dunbar tells Gibson. Treat the world the same way. There's no evidence that he showed his children tenderness and love. She found that I listened to what she said, Gibson says. So she stayed, Watson says. And then this came along, Gibson says. Holmes accepts a bow from one of the servants. Mr. Gibson, can you throw any light upon it? One explanation. I give it to you, Mr. Holmes, for what it's worth. There is no doubt that my wife was bitterly jealous. She might have planned to murder Miss Dunbar or threaten her with a gun and so frighten her into leaving us. Maybe there was a scuffle. The gun went off and shot at the woman who held it. Yes, it is a possibility, Holmes says. It is the only alternative to deliberate murder. Holmes thwacks an arrow into the target. But she utterly denies it, Watson says. What is against such a supposition, Holmes asks. Miss Dunbar herself, Watson says. Oh, Watson, forever in love.
But she's pretty. She can't be a killer.
No, she's got to be telling the truth. She has 1 day left before the trial, Holmes says to Gibson. You must grant me permission to visit her once more. If ever in your life you showed your powers, Mr. Holmes, put them into this case, now. But I cannot promise you that my conclusions will be such as you desire, Holmes says, stringing another arrow into his bow, and he sends it into the bullseye and leaves. At the prison that evening, Miss Dunbar is back sitting on her stone bench with a lit candle, and she's crying. Aww. Yeah, it's a sad and lonely scene. Holmes and Watson bicycle away from Thor Place, which is the first time we get a good look at the actual exterior. It's red brick. It is utterly gorgeous with a lot of little domed roofs with spires on them. In reality, this is Capesthorne Hall in Cheshire, up near Liverpool. Hampshire, which is where the story takes place, is all the way down in the south of England.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty far south.
So again, Granada's being cheap and finding locations near headquarters as opposed to traveling. We have several vital questions to ask this young lady, and I must confess that the case would seem to be a very black one against her if it were not for one thing, Holmes says, the finding of the pistol in her wardrobe. That seems to be the most damning incident of all, Watson says. Not so, Watson. It is my only firm ground for hope. We must look for consistency. They're pedaling over Thor Bridge on their bikes. Where there is a want of it, we must suspect deception, and they hop off their bikes. Come, Holmes, Miss Dunbar's depending on us, Watson says. Visualize yourself in the character of Miss Dunbar, Holmes says, with a cold, premeditated fashion, is about to get rid of her rival. What would be your actions and your thinking? And I do not for 1 minute trust Watson to inhabit the character of any woman successfully.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I've written a note. The victim has come. I've taken the weapon from the gun room. The crime is done. Workmanlike and complete. And now the weapon, Holmes says. Of course, Watson says, and he makes a
throw it on the lake.
flinging motion. Yeah, throwing it into the lake. Those depths would hide it forever, Holmes says. No, they won't. It's a lake.
Yeah.
Your best friend. Go ahead.
Oh, I just sent a diver down.
I know. Your best friend could hardly call you a schemer, yet I cannot picture you carrying it home and putting it into your wardrobe, the very first place that would be searched. So then they're at the prison, and as they're walking through it, Holmes is saying, this revolver, for example, she disdains all knowledge of it. You're saying it was placed in her wardrobe, but by who, Watson asks. By someone who wished to incriminate her.
To which I have to note, yeah, obviously. I mean, specifically, do you have a suspect already?
Holmes greets Cummings, and they go down to visit Miss Dunbar, who is sitting at a janky table reading a book by candlelight.
Yeah, it's a really lovely shot, and it looks like a painting.
Yes, and I wondered at first if the book was a Bible, but the print was too big. I grew up around a lot of Bibles.
Jesus likes eye strain,
and the paper's too thick. If you're gonna have a Bible, you gotta have like that race paper.
Jesus likes eye strain and thin paper.
Yes. Yes. But the words of Jesus are printed in red, so take of that what you will. Miss Dunbar, we have had lengthy conversations with Mr. Gibson, and he has informed us of your relations with him and your innocence on the matter, Holmes says. But you need not pain yourself with that part of the story, Watson says. But we do need to know something, Holmes says, of your feelings towards Mrs. Gibson. And Holmes ushers her back to the stone bench. I had no wish to wrong Mrs. Gibson, Miss Dunbar says. But she loved her husband so vividly, in a physical sense, that she could hardly understand the mental, even spiritual tie which held him to me.
I kept having to hear them bang each other at night.
I know. Like, or imagine that it was only my desire to influence his power for good which kept me under his roof. I can see now that I was wrong to stay. Nothing could have justified my remaining where I was such a cause of unhappiness. My client may be loath to mention it, Cummings says, but she has managed to persuade Mr. Gibson to finance a mission of mercy to resettle tribes, in particular the Barora Indians who have fallen victim to unscrupulous gold and rubber prospectors. And this is actually true.
Yeah, the Baroro tribe in Brazil. In the mid-19th century, a road was built through their territory, which provoked a violent conflict, which they lost. So the state then worked to Christianize them.
Yes.
Which basically means nearly destroying their language and culture.
Absolutely. Yes. The venture is thriving, Cummings asks. We saw your pictures in the school, Watson notes. Like so many of those warrior Indians, Miss Dunbar says, Mr. Gibson can sometimes give people a misleading impression. Oh, Lord, she is a saint. Now, Miss Dunbar, will you tell us exactly what happened that evening, Holmes asks. I mean, finally! Rather turn yourselves inside out before asking a simple question of a woman. So in this flashback, Miss Dunbar is walking across the schoolroom with a piece of paper. I received a note from Mrs. Gibson in the morning. It implored me to meet her at the bridge after dinner. This note, Holmes says, did you keep it? No, she asked me to destroy it, and we see Miss Dunbar putting the note in the fire.
That's not at all suspicious.
No. And to hide my answer at the sundial in the garden. I saw no reason for such secrecy, but she was very much afraid of her husband, who treated her with a harshness for which I frequently reproached him. I can only imagine that she did not wish him to know of our interview. Yet she kept your reply very carefully, Holmes said. Yes, I was surprised to hear that she had it in her hand when she died, Miss Dunbar says. What happened then? She was waiting for me, and we see the two women on the bridge. So you have come, says Maria.
Yeah, you told me to.
Never did I realize until that moment how much she hated me, Miss Dunbar says. And Maria is speaking to her in Portuguese, which is not, again, they're not translating it.
Yeah.
She was like a madwoman, Miss Dunbar relates. I think she was mad with the deep power of deception, which some insane people can have. You're cruel, Maria says. You have no heart. You don't know how to love. You have no passion. How else could she have met me with unconcern every day, Miss Dunbar says. She was standing there on the bridge, shrieking her curses at me. And in the flashback, Miss Dunbar turns and runs off the bridge. Maria's yelling after her, English whore! I curse the day that you were born. And yet, Holmes says, presumably she met her death shortly after you left. You heard no shot. No, I heard nothing, Miss Dunbar says. I was so agitated and horrified by her terrible outbreak that I rushed back to get to the peace of my own room. I was incapable of noticing anything that happened. Your own room, Holmes muses. Did you leave it again before morning? Yes, Miss Dunbar said when they brought the poor creature back to the house.
Poor creature.
I know. Did Mr. Gibson seem to you much perturbed? Holmes asks. He is a very strong, self-contained man. I do not think he would ever show his emotions on the surface, Miss Dunbar says. Which isn't true. We know he gets angry frequently.
Anger is an emotion.
Emotion, exactly. Not for men. And if a woman's angry, she's hysterical.
Mm-hmm.
But you, who knew him so well, Holmes prompts. Yes, I could see that he was deeply concerned. Now, Holmes says, getting up, we come to the all-important part. That pistol that was found in your room. You'd never seen it before. Never, I swear it. When was it found? Next morning when the police made their search, Miss Dunbar says. Yes, among your clothes, Holmes says. At the bottom of my wardrobe in one of the drawers, Miss Dunbar tells him. And you cannot guess how long it had been there, Holmes says. It could not have been there the morning before because I tidied up the wardrobe. So you're suggesting that someone came into your room and placed it there in order to incriminate you? Holmes asked in a disbelieving voice. But he's pointing at Cummings, who's writing something down in his notebook. It must have been so, Miss Dunbar says. When? It could only have been at mealtime, or else during the hours when I would be in the schoolroom with the children, Miss Dunbar says.
Only have been just about any point in time.
Right. As you were when you received the note, Holmes says. Yes, from that time onward for the whole morning. Thank you, Miss Dunbar, Holmes says, and his face does like this weird twitch. Is there any other point which could help me in my investigation? I can think of none, she says. Watson gets up. Holmes, might I have a word with you in private? Forgive me, Miss Dunbar. And he and Holmes go into another empty cell.
Another cell.
For privacy. Holmes, I'd like to put to you my case for believing that Mr. Gibson is the murderer of his wife. We have a man who, by his own admission, is used to breaking people who stand in his path. Well, his wife stood in his path, but Miss Dunbar rejected him. Now, what better than to kill the one and incriminate the other? And Holmes is looking thoughtful at this. To kill the two birds with the one stone, so to speak.
Incriminating the other isn't going to
I
help
know.
him get the
Why
girl.
would he? Yeah. Yes, and the killing of two birds with one stone is a pun, but an anachronism from the 1960s because English slang, a bird was a woman.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah, that one did not escape me.
I keep forgetting that.
Just as well. You don't believe that Gibson's confession was sincere, Holmes says. It was Bates who said he was plausible and cunning. His confession was a clever means to put us off the scent, Watson says. Holmes leans against the wall and he's got his hand against his mouth. Think of it like this, Watson says. He somehow discovers that his wife has arranged a meeting. During the day, he takes the two pistols from the box. One he conceals in the
One for each of them.
Yes, in the drawer of the wardrobe. And in the flashback, we see Gibson taking out a pistol. Then we hear a gunshot. After discharging one bullet from the barrel, which he could easily do in the woods without attracting attention, and this is acted out for us in the flashback. He is all alone that evening, Watson continues. He sees Miss Dunbar return and grasps his opportunity. He commits the deed and flings the murder weapon far into the lake. And Holmes has his head down. He's resting his hands on his walking.
Looks like he's asleep.
Yeah. Holmes, Watson asks. When Holmes does not respond, Watson claps. Holmes? Oh, Watson, Holmes growls, raising up his head. I have been sluggish in mind and wanting in that mixture of imagination and reality, which is the basis of my art. You have put me entirely to shame. And Holmes storms out of the cell.
Your fictional story was an inspiration to me.
With Watson behind him, and he enters Miss Dunbar's. You'll be hearing from me, Mr. Cummings. With the help of the God of Justice and my colleague, Dr. Watson, I will give you a case that will make England ring.
Yay!
He turns to the governess. Miss Dunbar, you have my assurance that the clouds are lifting and the light of truth is breaking through.
From that point of view, these two must look so flaky.
Yes, I know. Holmes and Watson climb up the stairs from the prison cells. We need our friend, Sergeant Coventry, a ball, a stout twine, and a grappling hook, Holmes is saying. A grappling hook, Watson asks. Holmes and Watson are then in a police trap with the sergeant approaching the bridge.
No, the sergeant sprang for a carriage this time.
I know. Watson, I have some recollection that you go armed on these little excursions of ours, Holmes says. Just as well that I do. More than once my revolver has been a good friend to you, Watson says. You have little care of your own safety. Yes, I am inclined to be absent-minded in these matters, Holmes says.
I do love that Holmes is able to be absent-minded about his safety because that's Watson's job.
Yes, he's outsourced his worry.
So Watson is Holmes's murder bot.
Yes. Do you have your revolver on you? Watson takes it out of his coat and hands it to Holmes. It is heavy, remarkably heavy, Holmes says, feeling its weight in his hand. Solid.
To throw my gun in the lake, Holmes.
Solid bit of work, the sergeant comments. You know, I believe this is going to have a very intimate connection with the mystery that we're investigating. Would you mind unloading it? Holmes hands the revolver back to Watson, who dumps out all the bullets into his hand. Just then, Gibson comes along in his car, being driven by the chauffeur. And Gibson points his cane at the men in the police trap. I guess that's how he says hi. Will you be at home, Mr. Gibson, this evening? Holmes calls out. I shall have some news for you. You have half a day, Mr. Holmes, Gibson says, and he swats the arm of his chauffeur with his cane as a signal to get moving. And the chauffeur looks very tired. He really has a sort of Abe Vigoda hangdog look to him. The police trap stops at the bridge. The men get out. Holmes carries a large stone with twine wrapped around it to the railing of the bridge.
And now I shall throw this brick in the water and see if it sinks.
Yes, you have seen me miss my mark before, Watson. I have an instinct for such things, but it has sometimes played me false. We can but try. Will you both stand exactly where the body lay? And Holmes takes Watson's empty revolver out of his coat pocket and starts fussing with the twine. Your theory about the Gold King, though admirable in its psychology, did not quite adhere to the facts. He ties one end of the twine on the revolver. Visualize yourself in the character of a woman who, in a cold, premeditated fashion, is about to get rid of her rival. He lowers the heavy stone into the river and picks up the revolver and turns around. I mean, of course, Mrs. Maria Gibson. Watson looks incredulous, which she's very good at. For all your deductions about Gibson being the perpetrator of this crime, substitute his wife. Imagine that she was the one who took the pistols from the gun room, who fired the single shot in the woods, and placed the gun in Miss Dunbar's wardrobe, cold, crafty, premeditated, down to the last detail. And Holmes points the gun towards his temple. Now for it. And we see Mrs. Gibson pointing a pistol to her own temple, and she fires. She collapses. The gun goes flying over the railing into the water, chipping a piece of the railing on the way. Holmes points. His little recreation has caused another chip right next to the first one. Was there ever a more exact demonstration? Watson's pissed. My revolver, Holmes, he says. He's going to have to oil that gun. But Sergeant Coventry is standing there with more twine and the grappling hook, and he fishes Watson's revolver out of the lake. Then he drops the hook back in again and pulls up, yes, another stone, more twine, and the missing pistol. A vindictive woman, a creature of the tropics, passionate, ill-balanced, Holmes says.
Her real crime, of course, is not being of English nationality.
Exactly. I mean, they've used the word ill-balanced 3 times in this episode. Disguising her own crime and fostering a charge of murder upon an innocent victim, Watson says. And then we see Gibson hustling Miss Dunbar out of the prison. He's got his arm around her. They get into his car. He's very solicitous of her, and they drive across Thor Bridge. And in a voiceover, Watson says, "You've helped a remarkable woman, Holmes, and a formidable man." And if it seems not unlikely that they would join forces, Holmes asks, naturally, I would wish them well. And Gibson still got his arm around Miss Dunbar. Magnanimous of you, Watson, Holmes says. And the episode ends.
And thus ends Gone Girl by Arthur Conan Doyle.
So I had, we talk a lot about the racism and misogyny and classism in these stories, but in the TV portrayals. And I mean, yes, it's the 90s, but the 90s is not that long ago.
Yeah.
Relatively speaking.
Yeah.
And I started sort of trawling IMDb to see if there were any Sherlock Holmes productions, like being planned.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, apart from the Guy Ritchie one, which is on deck, the third movie.
They're really doing a third movie?
They are, yeah.
The second one was awful.
It was horrible.
I really liked the first one, but like 5 minutes into the second one, I was questioning my life choices.
I know, yes. But it just, I mean, how can you faithfully tell these stories without the racism and the misogyny and the bigotry and the classism? You can't. It's so tightly woven into the fabric of these stories.
And I feel like there is a way to
it had to take place in that time.
Well, yeah, taking place in that time.
Right. You don't have to modernize it and completely like turn it inside out, which is, of course, what Gatiss and Moffat tried to do.
Yeah, it's more set dressing.
Yeah.
It's not crucial to the story. The actual story is just your standard love triangle.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, and everything else is yeah. Um I guess they kind of did it with Moriarty shooting himself in Sherlock, right? Like he was
Yeah.
crazy, so he shot himself and framed Sherlock.
Mhm.
That's a similar trope.
That resolved so badly that,
Badly.
and by resolved, I mean they just said and went on.
They literally
But
waved their hands and
yeah, yeah,
mhm. Yeah,
doesn't stick in my head as an example of really anything except how not to tell a story.
you know, I love that series when it came out so
Oh,
much.
I did too. I really loved it.
Well, remember we would like you would get those downloads and we would share them and we had a friend. And that was when I started getting into I got a VPN and
Mhm.
started watching British TV that way. Because I did not want to wait for it to come to Masterpiece. I needed to see it then, the moment.
Yeah.
Um, but in retrospect, they there was a lot of good things about it, but mm, there were a
Yeah.
lot of not good things about it.
It's one of those things
I mean,
where,
I still watch it.
Mhm. But it's one of those things where if you really like something, they make a misstep here and there, you shrug it off.
Hmm.
But when it starts to turn bad, that's when you start collecting this enormous list of every possible thing that they've done wrong.
Yes, that's it. That's it. And for some people, it was the wedding that really pissed them off. It did not piss me off. I was okay with it. But what did piss me off was the final episode. And then retroactively, I started stacking up. Okay, here's where all my problems are. The final episode just really. Oh, and the previous, not the dying detective, but the one before that, and I can't even remember the name of it now.
That might have been the one where there's one in that last season where um, I think it was closed captions. Can you hear that?
Yeah, what is it? What is your cat doing?
That's one cat who has no sense of humor being teased by a cat who does have a sense of humor.
Oh shit! So he's being tormented.
Yeah. That last season, I think it was, there were no closed captions on one of the episodes, and then the sound cut out halfway through. And
Oh,
I never went back to rewatch.
okay.
It's like, no,
Okay.
that's fine. I don't need to see the rest of this episode. But I think I did see the middle one and then didn't see the last one because I'd heard it was horrible.
Yeah. Oh, the Six Thatchers. That was the first one, and I mean, there was just a little too much cuteness around the baby and that kind of thing. The Lying Detective, though, was phenomenal.
Mhm.
That was so good, and Toby
Oh,
Jones. Toby Jones is like the best villain. But then, yeah, the final problem was horrible because you're suddenly inventing a sister.
yeah.
The fuck. And at that point, I feel like they've covered enough of like they would because the point was they were trying to get into Sherlock's psychology and what made him the man he is. And I just feel like they went way out over their skis.
Yeah. And we might have talked about this on the podcast before, but there's a way to do it that could be really fun,
Mhm.
where it's all about Sherlock and his relationship with other people and how his friendship with Watson changes him. The point is you have to change, and if you don't change, then the character is just an asshole.
In the final episode, I will say, Sherlock is very he's got empathy, And it's, it may be worth watching for that. There's, I mean, at the very, very end, like, oh no, it's the end of the second episode where Watson is talking to him about how he's hallucinating Mary, and Sherlock's like, and that's bad. I mean, it's just, and he hugs him, and I felt like that was earned, given everything that had happened prior. But yeah, I can see why a lot of people didn't like it, because he's supposed to be this cold, calculating machine.
Well, and he had been up until that point. It's like almost the end of the series.
Right.
So he's shown a tiny bit of change here. Thanks.
I mean, we see a little bit of a change in this series. It's so gradual, though.
Yeah.
But by the time we get to what's his name, the Culverton Smith character, what is his name in the original? The blackmailer.
Oh, Charles Augustus Milverton?
Yes, Milverton. Yes. So by the time we get there and he's having to do the ruse with the housekeeper or whoever she has made, I mean, that's a side of Holmes that we just have never seen up until then. And the stories don't cover it, right? It's us watching Sherlock pretend to be a human being, man. And it's such a shock. And if you only know Jeremy Brett, but being Sherlock Holmes, and you've never seen him as Freddy and
he was delightful as Freddy.
My Fair Lady, yeah, because Freddy's a sap. But we have to watch Holmes being a sap for a woman, which is crazy.
Isn't there a version of Rebecca with him?
Ooh, that's a good question.
I could be making that up.
I know there's one with Charles Dance because I've seen it. Hang on, I'm looking it up right now. I need to watch My Fair Lady again. Oh, he was in War and Peace too. Oh yeah, forgot about that.
Oh yeah.
And and he was Macbeth. Goodness. Yes, he was Maxim de Winter.
Yeah.
In 1980.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, Joanna David. Wow.
Anna Massey.
Yes, it's Mrs. Danvers. Oh my God. I think I saw this, actually.
He has a mustache.
Yeah. I don't think I recognized him. My God. He's very dashing.
Yes. I need to see this.
I know. I think I did see it. I have a distinct memory of Joanna David's face. Oh God, Mrs. Danvers is such a great character.
But as you can see, we really don't like talking about this one.
How many rabbit holes can we go down?
Exactly.
I mean, but that's what I love about this. And if we decide to do Poirot, I'm going to have a hard time with that pronunciation. It'll be the same thing because there are all these interconnected, and of course, British culture is such a hegemonic culture that it does lead you into all these rabbit holes.
Yeah.
I mean, we've talked about architecture. We've talked about food. We've talked about a lot of things in the course of these episodes.
And this story actually did remind me a bit of a Poirot story, Death on the Nile.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I saw the Branagh version a couple years back.
How is it? Because I really like the Peter Ustinov.
I saw that too.
That one is just brilliant. I don't really care for Branagh as a director these days.
Very
He's
cold.
actually very good, and his work looks beautiful, but it's very cold.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. I agree with that completely. And that's what, I mean, you're going to cast Gal Gadot as the main woman. And I mean, it's like casting a clothespin. She just cannot act. I mean, you're going to get one expression out of her.
I've only seen her in Wonder Woman, which is, I mean, she was fine in it, but
Yeah.
it's like that's a demanding role.
Exactly. And Russell Brand is in the Brunel one. It's the last big role he had, and it is a big role.
Oh,
And it's a serious role. He has to act. He plays the doctor.
wow.
Yeah. Yeah. And he gets into a fight, and it's so funny because Russell Brand can't fight. Like, it's like, little rats slapping each other. So not very convincing. And I think it's Armie Hammer who's in it. So like tons of problematic actors are in this production.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I like the what was it, the Murder in Venice one that he did.
Mhm.
That was really good.
I really like the story it's based on.
Yeah. The production was good too, and there was more warmth in that one.
Okay.
Yeah. Haunting in Venice. That was it. So highly recommend. I do not like his mustache either.
No, I don't either.
I was having this conversation on Blue Sky, like who's the iconic Poirot? And everyone agrees it's David Suchet.
Yeah, he's the Poirot version of Jeremy Brett's Holmes.
Yeah, but it's who comes in after him. And I was like, all right, Ustinov.
Yeah, Ustinov.
Not Branagh. In no way, shape, or form. And he really does have a talent for attracting problematic, like more Orient Express. He had Johnny Depp.
Yeah.
Like, so I think Haunting in Venice is the only
Jude Law and some other.
Yeah. Haunting in Venice is the only one where so far no one has come out as a monster.
So far.
So far. All right.
That's all from us this week. If you've enjoyed the show and haven't subscribed yet, you can subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. If you want to support us, you can leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. Tell your friends and join us next week when we'll be discussing the adventure of Shoscombe Old Place.
Oh yeah. Okay. I it's a blank slate to me.
I don't remember.
All right. See you then.
Bye.
Bye.